This is Pakistan today, a frontline state in the so-called war on terror. But Pakistan is accused by its own allies of failing to fight militancy within its own borders. In this two-part series, I will travel to the tribal areas along the border with Afghanistan. It's home to Pakistan's Taliban militants, and many believe it's also the hiding place of Osama bin Laden. This is where Pakistan's desperate struggle with the militants has turned the country into a war zone. In a journey through the tribal areas, I will witness the realities of Pakistan's role in the global war on terror and the cost of that war to this country. In the summer of 2007, I came to the Red Mosque here in the very heart of the Pakistani capital to speak to its religious leader, Abdul Ghazi, and the hundreds of militant female students that he led in the madrasa right next door. Under his guidance, hundreds of the girls had taken to the streets to take direct action against anything from popular video shops to prostitution. They had challenged the writ of the Pakistani government and its very legitimacy in a way that people hadn't seen for years. But what I wasn't prepared for was that within days of speaking to them, the Red Mosque and the religious seminary that was here in this now barren and open ground would be turned into a war zone. Hello, Ghazi, it's Raghi. I'm okay, Ghazi. How are you? What's happening inside? I was never to see Maulana Ghazi again. In response to the assault on the Red Mosque, the Al-Qaeda website called for revenge in Pakistan. Whatever the truth of Benazir's assassination, there can be no doubt about the methods of the militants. Colonel Naeem shows me videos captured during raids which reveal the training of young boys.
No, this is the place where young people are being motivated and trained for suicide missions by the militants. And these young people are between the age of 10 to 20 years, mostly teenagers. They are indoctrinated, they are misguided, they are given totally different perception of life, putting in their mind that this is a very honorable act.
This used to be a no-go zone for Pakistan's army.
The Shakai region of South Waziristan was the heartland to which thousands of Al-Qaeda militants and foreign fighters came to in 2001 after they were pushed out of Afghanistan. And it was here that the Pakistani military launched a major offensive against them.
The army spent weeks building intelligence to pinpoint the enemy before attacking their fortress-like houses. This village was cleared after a two-day battle with many militant deaths. When the army searched the captured compounds, they discovered hidden stores of computers and video equipment. Then compounds were bulldozed to deny the enemy shelter if they returned. As a result, most of the foreign fighters fled further north. The local Taliban have remained and are still active.
Who is the enemy?
The enemy is faceless. There are certain people, the foreign elements, and some of their sympathizers.
The local sympathizers are Baytullah Masood and his men. He's deeply hostile to American interference in Pakistan and supports the Taliban in Afghanistan. As well as the civilian deaths, Pakistani soldiers patrolling the front line have also been hit by friendly fire. In one incident in Memond, in the tribal areas, 11 soldiers were killed by the Americans. Tyra Akbar teaches at a military school. Her husband, Major Akbar, was leading the troops in Memond when the American forces attacked.
He told me about his last assignment on 10th of June. He called me and said, I'm going on the front line, so don't get worried. And you're a wife of a soldier. Be brave. The actual story which I was having is that the Afghan forces was attacked by militants, and they request for the air protection from NATO forces. They entered in our area, and this friendly bombardment has occurred.
General Junju and his troops moved into the valley last year and faced tough resistance from the armed supporters of the local firebrand cleric Maulana Fazlullah. His vigilantes took control around the main town Mingora and attacked local video shops. The army drove Fazlullah's men out of the town and into the hills. The local government pushed through a peace deal with them, but the peace was short-lived. Muslim Khan maintains their only arms are Kalashnikovs, but back at his base, General Junjua shows me evidence of the haul his men discovered in an operation at a local mosque.
The soldiers had gone into the mosque. There was a fellow standing, a civilian, who said, "Look up." And then we went up, and this was all in another ceiling which had been prepared inside the mosque.
Hundreds of kilos of chemicals were discovered, enough to make 100 bombs, and some explosives had already been assembled.
Were you shocked that, this kind of material was found in a mosque, or was being hidden in a mosque?
More than shocked, I was surprised. And we actually did not expect that while having very tall claims as very staunch Muslims that they were using mosques for hiding these explosives which can only create destruction.
Leaving Swat, I take with me a powerful awareness of just how much is being demanded of Pakistan's army. It's fighting on several fronts. It has to hold ground in terrain that has defeated armies for centuries. And as Western leaders themselves acknowledge, there is no defense against suicide bombers. My next destination is the front line in Bajor, where Al-Qaeda's leadership is believed to be hiding. And what happens here affects us all.
This is the main military push by the Pakistani army against the militants here in Bajor.
I think a very defining time. I mean, you can go back to the 80s with the, against the communists and everything, and the Taliban. In Pakistan and in the tribal area, it was a very defining time after 2002, the elections, with the EMMY government. I was in Banu, in Tong, in these areas, and talking to people, and they would go, these guys who are the Taliban now, Baytullah Masood before that, Mohammed, they would go when they would go to a video shop, and they threatened the video store owner. The video store owner goes to the local district guy. He says, "Listen," what the district guy says, because he's an MMA employment or whatever, he says, "So it's not good, it's against Islam anyway, don't do it. We have to go to Peshawar says no." They weren't strong in 2002. They didn't have a control, but they kept getting away with things. They got stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And I saw the same thing in SWAT. It was the deputy police chief of SWAT that went to the store owners at 10:30, all the video shop owners at 10:30, and said, "We'll be blowing up your shops at 4:15. in the morning.
And in Swat, a lot of the women gave their gold. I mean, they literally gave their gold
to the Muslims, and they allowed the because what they gave was nothing.
These Afghans are very well-trained fighters. They have provided the training, and it is not with MMA. Once they from the government, it is before that. Once Benazir was there, this Taliban issue started.
See, Taliban again becomes sort of an all-encompassing now because the Taliban in Afghanistan, so like everybody who picks up a gun and says they're doing it in the name of religion becomes a Taliban. So I mean, I think it's a more.
The real question is that first of all, let's identify who is supporting them. Till the time we don't identify who is supporting them, this issue will not be.